Yeah, we'll start with any thoughts you have and then go to questions.
Okay, I don't have a lot of additional thoughts in regard to the Louisville game after our press conference on Saturday night. Obviously, the 17-0 run was really a big deal for us. Played really well in that time frame. Got stops, got in transition, which is really important to our team. I thought Isaiah Mucius was really good in that stretch where he made 3 threes, took 2 charges. We allowed Louisville to make a run there late in this first half. I thought we took some quick shots when we had the lead. We missed 3 blockout opportunities that led to baskets. We weren't ready to guard on an out of bounds play that led to a basket or a foul at least. And so, those things allowed them to cut the lead to 8. I thought at the beginning of the second half, we came out with a lot of focus and went on another great run. I thought Cameron Hildreth was really important in that run by the way he played, how hard he played. The great pass to Jake and transition for a basket. Made a 3, I think, got fouled. I thought he was really played really well coming off the bench. Senior night is Wednesday against NC State. We're going to recognize all 7 of our seniors in our program. Isaiah Mucius, Davian Williamson, Dallas Walton, Alondis Williams, Hadim C., Miles Lester, and J.R. Mathis. I mean, I think it's pretty well known that Mucius, Williamson, and Walton all have another year of eligibility and all have the option to return. You should know I've personally told all 3 of them how much we want them back, how much we want them to return. I think you'll be hard-pressed to find 3 student athletes who represent Wake Forest in a better manner than Mucius, Williamson, and Walton on and off the court. These are individual decisions, though, and discussions that will not take place until after the conclusion of the season. Nice try, Les. And then Hadim C. is progressing. He's probably 50-50 for maybe Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. He definitely will not practice today, but he's working hard on his recovery and his rehabilitation. And John, I apologize. I used a picture yesterday. I should give somebody credit from the paper. You guys took an incredible picture of our bench when Miles scored that 3, and I sent it out. I tweeted it out, and if you want to tell me, I'll write it down. I'll give him credit. I don't know a lot about technology, but I knew how to drag on my desktop onto my Mac, but it was the epitome of what I would say is the best moment of a season, just showing how much these guys care about each other and how much fun they're having. So I apologize to the person who took the picture. Maybe it was you. I don't know.
No, it was Jay Capers. He's a freelancer, but I'll let him know. And it's great because along those lines, I wanted to ask you about the team chemistry because you've been doing this a while. It's something you guys, the coaches, can't do. It's got to be them. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what that has kind of meant? And maybe that's why those guys might want to come back next year too.
Yeah, I think it means everything. And, they like each other. And that sometimes isn't talked about enough is, how much do these guys, how much does the team really like each other? How do they handle their relationships off the court? I've seen it a lot of different ways, but typically a team that likes each other on the court likes each other off the court, and they do a lot together, and these guys do a lot together. And so I think you've seen that carry over to the court. Now we can try to orchestrate those things, right? You all know the drill with me, how we do it, but they have to be the ones to do it. And so that's why that picture was so important to me, is because it was all the guys who were starting on the bench, out of the game, cheering for the guys that did it. And they weren't into their own agenda. Well, I didn't get it. I didn't score enough points tonight. Coach yelled at me, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff, distractions that go on, they don't let that affect them. And, the two best players on the team are the most unselfish players on the team. And that carries over too. And they have infectious personalities. You know, like for instance, I judge a player a lot of times, the best player, on how he gets along with the walk-ons. Is he too big for those guys? Is he too cool? Is he above them? Man, and Jake, they get along with everybody. You know, that's the hierarchy. And so there isn't really one. Everybody gets along with everybody. And so it doesn't always happen every year. That team last year had no chance for that because based on COVID restrictions. So I don't blame them for that. They didn't have no opportunity. We all ran home. We're all scared to breathe on each other or look at each other or touch each other, you know. So that's not their fault. But in the past, my teams have always pretty much been like this. And I have strengths and weaknesses, tons of them, weaknesses. But I think one of my biggest strengths is getting teams to play together and believe in each other and care about each other. And to me, that right there, besides the score, made me smile the most.
Steve, I think we kind of got an answer to this last year with the way senior day was handled. But is there any plan on honoring those guys beyond the pregame ceremony in terms of like maybe throwing a start to Miles Lester or something like that?
No, I never have believed in that. And that's no disrespect to Miles or whoever, you know. No, I've never done that. They get honored, you know, the way we honor them, and we're trying to win the game. So I know a lot of coaches do that. I have never done that, and I never will.
Steve, is there going to be a little more pressure at the tournament because you said you would hopefully control your own destiny and maybe you have to win one time in Brooklyn, but do you just really not even put that pressure on the guys at all?
I think the pressure is game to game. You know, every game's the most important that you're playing. Can't look ahead. You do that, you get yourself in a lot of trouble, you know. And so I've tried to keep them real task oriented, next game, next play mentality. No matter what had happened this past week, we lost to Clemson, we beat Louisville. I think we still have the same issues going into the tournament. We need to go to the tournament to win the tournament, and then we don't have to worry about it. Okay. And we have a team that can do that. And so we haven't talked about a lot of that yet because we're not to that portion yet. You know, we still have a regular season game. I do like the fact that we got a little bit of time off. I do think it'll help us a little bit as far as just, you know, recovery. I mean, Dallas is, you know, I told you Saturday's got knees of a 74, 75-year-old. And, you know, guys have played some heavy minutes, you know, maybe gives Dream a chance more to get back to where he could be, you know, healthy. I don't mind that as much. But I don't think it's going to be much different, John. I think, you know, Wednesday's a big game. And if we play Wednesday or Thursday next week, it's a big game. And, you know, hey, if you win the championship, there ain't no discussion. We're in, right? And so that's the mentality that we have to go with when we go to Brooklyn.
I think we're supposed to mess with you now about having a bald head. Like Dallas told us that we had to get on you about being bald when you brought up his 75-year-old knees.
I mean, Dallas is probably headed that direction. I've seen his hairline too. You know, so I deserve it. He's got a great personality, as you guys have seen, and it won't be long from now that I'll be probably begging him for a job. You know, he's a brilliant young man, and we are really lucky to have him. And so he can give me all the grief that I deserve. My bald head. I went to the Lion King last night, and somebody took a picture of me from the balcony and tweeted at me if I was at the Lion King, and that was my bald head. You know, I can't hide anywhere, even though I had a mask on. So, but Dallas, he's spot on. I am bald.
On a more serious note, with the schedule, like with having that off week on the last Saturday of the season, you guys have been going 2 and 3 games a week for I think 2 months. Yeah. I know you hate giving the team back-to-back off days. So how are you going to handle that? Just lighter work?
I mean, yeah, like, you know, we'll definitely come in to shoot. You know, it won't be contact. I don't know how much contact I'll go the next 2 days. I have to be very mindful of that at this time of the year. But definitely take Thursday off, Connor. And maybe, maybe Friday, maybe not. If we go Friday, it'll be just shooting and skill development, which they want to do anyway. I mean, they really, truthfully, most of them they'd be in there anyway. I'm going recruiting Friday and Saturday out of state, so I won't be here, and then by Saturday night we'll know exactly, where we're at. Obviously, we need a little help, to move up in the league. Game tonight, Syracuse, Carolina. Then they have to play Duke. You got Miami playing at Boston College at Syracuse. So yeah, we got to pay attention to those two, but we're not playing on Tuesday. I know that, so that's improvement. And we'll play Wednesday, or we'll play Thursday and be ready to play. Hopefully, we're gonna go up there and play either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's the plan.
So I'm assuming, based upon your comments, that you would prefer logistically to get the bye and get the 4 seed and not have a game on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about it, quite frankly, but I mean, it's a shorter path to win the championship. So I think that's the way you always got to look at something like that. I've never been in a league with double buys, and so it's interesting how that works. But yeah, I would prefer the shorter path to the championship, and that's the mentality that you have to have. And I was in the SoCon 4 or 5 years, and I've played for the championship 4 times. So I know we got experience in doing that, and that's what we want to do here.
Does the gravity of the situation, in terms of it being the last game of the season, it being senior night, probably looking at a pretty good crowd, does all that help you keep these guys' attention against an NC State team that they probably feel like they handled pretty well on the road just about a month ago?
Yeah, I always want to minimize the distractions that you can control, and so we'll talk about that a little bit. And I've been places where they didn't, like Coach Marshall didn't like recognizing the seniors before the game because it was too emotional, and then they got off to a bad start. Maybe they didn't play well. He liked doing it. We did it at Wichita after the game. Now you take the chance of win-loss. I mean, there's never a perfect scenario. I don't think there's any issue with the opponent. They're going to respect them. I mean, we didn't break the game open until late in the game, so they understand that you can throw records out the door, especially when you're playing an in-state rival. Doesn't really matter, and so I'm not worried about that portion of it, and you try to get the tickets and all the things, who's coming, get that all worked out today and tomorrow, and then you just play the game. And the great thing is that, hey man, it's the last game of the season, and we got postseason implications riding on it. When's the last time that was? And so that's the beauty of it, and that's what we want. And so we have to be able to deal with it and manage it.
Based on that meeting in Raleigh, do you expect to see quite a bit of the 3/4 pressure and zone?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not going to their practice today. I don't think Kevin would want me in there. But we'll prepare for both. I mean, listen, every team, every player, I said this the other night, has strengths and weaknesses. There's 0 teams out there with no flaws. Okay. Gonzaga got beat. What, the top 7 teams? Is that right? Got beat Saturday? I think
it was 7 in the top 10 and the top 6.
I mean, the best players and the best teams play to their strengths and weaknesses, and I believe that. Now, do we got to get better playing against zone? Yeah, sure. We can always improve on a lot of things. I mean, we got to continue to improve, how we penetrate a zone, but the one thing about playing zone, it doesn't always play to the strengths of some of our players. Some players play better against it than others. And, but, we got to flow better, and with a quicker pace against softer pressure like you're talking about, maybe the 3/4 court press. Maybe they try to Maybe they try to trap you sometimes, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. You got to have great pace, great flow. We work on that. You got to have ball and body movement. Now you see that against man, we're exchanging, we're moving. It's got to be the same against zone. Sometimes when you play zone, it's different. It's a different style. Sometimes there's more optics to you than it is to me. Okay. And the other thing is, but with that being said, you need movement. Okay. You need exchanging. How do you get in there? Dribble penetration in the gaps. Some of our players are more comfortable doing that than others. Jake can't play on the perimeter and then pass it to himself in the paint. Doesn't work that way. Okay. And so we got to figure out where to always kind of move him around. Can't be east and west, got to be downhill. You got to pass the ball against the zone. Some of our guys struggle with that, faking and making quick decisions. I thought we missed Dallas a lot Saturday early, against the zone. Got to fake and make. Now, that being said, I personally don't think we have that much trouble attacking zone. Okay. If you look at points per possession, I got a sheet here. Syracuse, you want to be somewhere like 1.0 or above, right? Syracuse win here 1.01. Syracuse on the road 1.11. Georgia Tech 1.07. NC State 1.05. Notre Dame 1.1. Clemson 1.03. And then Louisville 1.38. Guys, we shot 58% from the field, 48 from 381 from the line. Okay. So that's a little bit of a, I don't understand, I don't really think we have a big problem with it. Last 10 games were 1.11 on points per possession. Effective field goal percentage right now, I think today was 55.9, which is 11th in the country, not in the ACC, the country. 2-point field goal percentage is 58.2. Okay. That's 4th in the country. And that's 2nd amongst high major programs. So man, zone, whatever we're seeing, trapezoid in 1, triangle in 2, we're getting to the basket. And that hurts against Clemson. We did not finish at the basket. We got there. We didn't finish. Offensive efficiency is 112.2, which is 33rd best in the country. And our defensive efficiency is 55th in the country. So, yeah, but we can always get better, man, at anything. But I don't subscribe to that. Not saying that you subscribe to it either, Connor. I'm just saying I don't subscribe to that. I think we know what we're doing, and some zones are different than others. For instance, like against Syracuse, their zone's different than the other ones, and so yeah, getting the ball to the middle is important, but backtracking out is important because you drag that big. They want you to drive it in there because they got a damn 7-footer in there, an aircraft carrier that's going to block your shot. Some teams don't have that, so you attack that guy. Right. Now, I'm not big on that 15-foot jump shot. I think some people think that's a good shot. I don't. And it's a bad place to shoot it because there's no rebounding when you're right there in the middle of the court. But there's a lot of times we want Jake in there so he can get in there and score that thing. He did it the other night or kick it out. So there's a lot of things that go with it, but it's not the same as man. And I think a lot of it's just optics for most people. That was a long version, but that's me. That's how I am.
Lots of long versions. Anything else for Coach, guys?
Yeah, I've got one for you. Coach, you addressed the opportunity to have all that time off after Wednesday before going to Brooklyn. It brings to mind the argument rest versus rust.
Yeah.
Which do you subscribe to? And it seems like it from the way you're talking about it, and tell me if I'm wrong, you can actually use the rest factor to your advantage and maybe, because it's obviously also the mental approach for these guys too, of having X number of days off.
Mike, it's a fine line. And in basketball, I've told you this before, is a rhythm game and you want to keep playing. And I do think during the league play, I don't like a lot of time off because we need to keep playing. Now, once we get to the end, like with this team, I mean, every team's different, but we're a little banged up right now. We've had some other ongoing issues that I'm not an excuse maker. Like, I don't talk about guys who are sick or don't feel good or have other issues going on with their body. I'm just not that guy. And so, but I do think that we're at a point where a couple of days off would not hurt us. Okay. And then we can get back to being sharp before we go, down there and play. I've been in through this thing for 33 years. When I was a junior college coach in Northwest Florida, we had almost 3 weeks off before we went to the national tournament. Okay. So yeah, I've dealt with this, before. When I was at East Tennessee State, they play the SoCon tournament this weekend. And so then you got all this time off before you go to the NCAA tournament, 2 weeks, so I've been through it. Every team's different, but I to get back to your point, I do think with this team after Wednesday, it will help us to have a few days off just to get everybody back to where they can be 100%.
And having gone through it before, and having that time off and then ramping things up, it sounds like you've got the blueprint to get them kind of back in place, or at least what's worked in the past.
I do have experience, but again, every team's different. I do think with this team, we're a little bit older. Maybe we don't have to do as much, as far as live stuff, because they get it. A lot of times when you got to go live because you got to get a feel for how you're guarding things. Not so much offense, maybe more than defense, right? It's hard to do dummy defense without not going hard. I shouldn't say dummy. It's hard to guard if you're just going 40%. You can't get a good feel for it. You got to go live. And I'm not so sure this team needs that as much right now because they've seen pretty much everything we're going to see. And so, you just got, that's the part I think you got to be the most mindful of. You can still get a lot of conditioning, playing, going up and down without contact. And you got get a lot of shots up. To me, the fine line is how much defense live do you play? And I think with this team, we're a little bit older and wiser, maybe not as much.
And because of that experience and older and wiser, does it help you in terms of having these guys, I guess, mentally prepared and focused and hungry? Because I would imagine after having 4 or 5 days between games, whatever it ends up being 6, you're going to need those guys to kind of kind of grab the rope and start pulling.
Yeah. I think it'll sink in. We're going to leave Monday, Monday night. So we'll practice here Monday. I think once you get on that plane, you got a pretty good idea of what's going on. The older we'll head up there, then you'd be locked in, getting ready to play either Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm not too worried about that because we got pretty good leadership we got really good leadership in that respect, from the older guys. And then, and with leadership, you also have to have people that want to be led. And I really believe our young guys want to be led and they respect these guys and they listen to them. So I think we'll all be bought in. Plus we have a whole staff, that's been through this. And so, I'm pretty good about keeping it real with them and keeping them on point and on task. So I feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? All right. Looks like that's all for today.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.